You know what's crazy? Most people prepare for a vacation more carefully than they prepare for an investment. They'll research hotels for weeks, compare flight prices obsessively, read 87 reviews about whether the breakfast buffet is worth it. But then they'll throw $10,000 at a stock because their coworker mentioned it during lunch. Zero preparation. Zero planning. Just hope and a prayer that it works out. That's not investing. That's expensive gambling with extra steps. Jewish investors approach this completely backwards from most people. The preparation isn't something that happens before the investment. The preparation is the investment. The research, the planning, the scenario modeling, the risk assessment, the emotional preparation for what could go wrong. All of that is where the real work lives. The actual purchase, that's just paperwork. That's the easy part. The hard part, the part that determines whether you win or lose, happens long before you ever click buy. And here's what makes this approach so powerful. When you prepare properly, you don't just make better investment decisions. You sleep better. You stress less. You don't panic when markets drop, because you already thought through that scenario 6 months ago. You planned for it. You're ready for it. Maybe you even welcomed it because you kept cash reserves specifically for moments like this. That's the difference between prepared investors and everyone else. One group is calm during chaos. The other group is Googling, should I sell everything at 2 in the morning? Which is never a good sign. Growing up, I noticed something strange about how my family talked about money. They never discussed investments casually. Never. It wasn't, oh, I bought some Apple stock yesterday over dinner. It was months of discussion, debate, analysis, and preparation before anyone committed to anything. My Aunt Linda makes the best rugelach you've ever tasted. Organized to the point of labeling her label maker. Once took 11 months to prepare before buying a rental property. 11 months. Not because she couldn't afford it sooner. Not because she couldn't find properties. But because she refused to move forward until every question was answered. Every risk was understood. Every contingency had a plan. People thought she was overthinking it. But when the 2008 crash happened and everyone else was drowning in properties they couldn't afford, Linda was completely fine because she had prepared for exactly that scenario. She knew her numbers. She had reserves. She understood her exit strategies. She wasn't lucky. She was prepared. So today, I want to walk you through the exact preparation process Jewish investors use before putting money into anything. These aren't just good habits. These are survival mechanisms built over generations of protecting wealth in unpredictable environments. Some of this will feel excessive. Some will feel paranoid. But when you're still standing after everyone else has been wiped out, you'll understand why this level of preparation isn't optional. It's everything. Before we go further, I'm really curious, what city are you watching this from right now? Are you in Chicago trying to figure out smarter money moves, Phoenix looking to build real wealth, or maybe somewhere else entirely where you're just tired of winging it with investments and losing money? Drop your city in the comments. I genuinely love knowing where this information is landing and helping people from all over the world prepare better financially. All right, let's talk about something nobody wants to hear but everyone needs to understand: financial foundation check. Before Jewish investors even think about putting money into stocks, real estate, businesses, or anything else, they make absolutely certain their foundation is solid. And I mean rock solid, not kinda stable, not mostly okay, completely unshakable. Because investing without a proper foundation is like building a skyscraper on sand. It might look impressive for a while, but the first storm that hits, everything collapses. What does foundation mean? It means emergency fund fully funded. Not partially, fully. It means high-interest debt eliminated. Not being managed, eliminated. It means insurance coverage adequate for actual risks, not just the cheapest policy you could find. It means income streams stable or diversifying, not fragile and dependent on one source that could disappear tomorrow. My cousin Benjamin, brilliant with languages, speaks 4 fluently, terrible at returning phone calls, wanted to invest in cryptocurrency back in 2017 when everyone was getting rich overnight. He had $20,000 saved, and every bone in his body wanted to jump in. But he stopped himself and did a foundation check first. He had $3,000 in emergency savings when he needed 6 months of expenses covered. He had $8,000 in credit card debt at 19% interest. His car was 12 years old and showing signs of expensive problems coming. His foundation was shaky. So instead of investing, he spent 18 months boring, unglamorous months fixing his foundation. Paid off the debt. Built the emergency fund, replaced the car. And only then, only after everything was stable, did he start investing. By then, the crypto hype had crashed and he avoided losing everything like so many others did. Was he lucky? No. He was prepared. He understood something most people miss. The best investment you can make is in your own stability first. Because without that, every other investment is just a house of cards waiting to fall. And here's the thing nobody tells you. When your foundation is solid, you invest differently. You're not desperate. You're not gambling with money you can't afford to lose. You're playing from a position of strength, which means you make smarter decisions, take calculated risks instead of stupid ones, and sleep at night regardless of what markets are doing. Now here's where preparation gets really interesting. Scenario planning. Most people invest with one scenario in mind. Everything goes up. The company grows. The property appreciates. The market keeps climbing. And when that's your only scenario, you're not prepared, you're just optimistic, which is a terrible investment strategy. Jewish investors prepare for multiple scenarios simultaneously. Best case, base case, worst case, and the nightmare case nobody wants to think about. They ask uncomfortable questions before investing. What if I lose my job right after buying this? What if interest rates double? What if this company's main product becomes obsolete? What if the market crashes 40% next year? What if the tenant stops paying rent? What if my business partner quits? These aren't pessimistic questions. These are preparation questions. Because when you think through scenarios in advance, you can actually prepare for them. You can build buffers. You can create exit strategies. You can decide ahead of time what you'll do if things go wrong, so you're not making emotional decisions in the middle of a crisis. I learned this from Miriam, a family friend who invested in commercial real estate. Before buying any property, she'd create a massive spreadsheet, and I mean massive, with at least 20 different scenarios. What happens if vacancy rates hit 30%? What if property taxes increase 15%? What if major repairs cost twice the estimate? What if she can't refinance when the balloon payment comes due? For every scenario, she had a response plan. Extra cash reserves for vacancies, backup financing sources for emergencies, relationships with multiple contractors for repairs, alternative exit strategies if she needed to sell quickly. People mocked her spreadsheets, called her paranoid. But when COVID hit and commercial real estate collapsed, Miriam didn't panic because she had literally already planned for a scenario almost exactly like that. She knew precisely what to do. She executed her plan calmly while everyone else was freaking out. And she came out ahead because preparation, real preparation, means thinking through the scenarios that scare you most and having answers ready before you need them. Let me ask you something that might sting. Do you actually understand what you're about to invest in? Or are you just trusting someone else's explanation? Because here's a massive part of Jewish investment preparation that gets completely overlooked. Knowledge acquisition. Real, deep, specific knowledge about what you're putting money into. Not surface-level understanding. Not, I read an article once knowledge. I mean genuine expertise developed through study, questions, research, and sometimes even hands-on experience before risking capital. There's a concept in Jewish tradition: due diligence isn't just financial, it's intellectual and even spiritual. You have a responsibility to understand what you're doing with resources entrusted to you. You can't just blindly follow tips or trust that someone else did the homework. You have to know. And if you don't know, you don't invest. Period. My friend's father, Leon, worked in manufacturing his whole life, ran marathons until his knees gave out, refused to invest in anything he didn't completely understand. Someone pitched him on a tech startup that sounded incredible. Revolutionary product. Amazing team. Early stage opportunity. Everyone was investing. But Leon didn't understand the technology. So instead of just writing a check, he spent 3 months learning. He took online courses about the underlying technology. He read patents. He spoke with engineers in similar fields. He visited the company's facility and asked questions until the founders probably wanted him to leave. And after all that preparation, all that knowledge acquisition, he passed on the investment. Not because the company was bad, but because he realized the technology had a fundamental flaw that would prevent scalability, something the founders either didn't see or chose to ignore. That company burned through millions and shut down 18 months later. Everyone who invested lost everything. Leon lost nothing because he refused to invest in something he didn't understand, even when everyone else was jumping in. That's preparation. That's discipline. And that's why he's still wealthy while others are still recovering from losses they could have avoided with proper knowledge acquisition beforehand. Here's the final piece of preparation that most people completely ignore. Emotional readiness. Everyone focuses on having enough money to invest. But almost nobody asks if they're emotionally ready to handle what comes next. Because investing, real investing, is emotionally brutal. Markets crash, values drop, opportunities disappear, mistakes happen. And if you're not emotionally prepared for that reality, you'll make terrible decisions at exactly the wrong moments. You'll panic sell at the bottom. You'll buy high because of FOMO. You'll abandon good strategies because of short-term volatility. Jewish investors prepare emotionally before investing by accepting several hard truths up front. First, you will lose money sometimes, not maybe, definitely. Second, you will make mistakes, everyone does. Third, markets will do things that make no sense and you can't control that. Fourth, short-term results mean almost nothing. And fifth, your emotions will try to sabotage you constantly. When you accept these truths before investing, you're not surprised or devastated when they happen. You expected them. You prepared for them. You built emotional resilience in advance. I watched my Uncle Morris, collects antique maps, drinks tea at exactly 4 p.m. every day, prepare emotionally before every major investment by literally writing down how he'd feel and what he'd do if the investment dropped 50%. He'd visualize the loss, feel the emotion, and then decide in advance, while calm, what his response would be. Hold, buy more, sell, whatever made strategic sense. Then when markets actually dropped, he wasn't making decisions based on fear. He was executing a plan he'd already made when he was thinking clearly. That's emotional preparation. And it's the difference between investors who survive long-term and those who get shaken out at every downturn because they never prepared themselves mentally for how difficult this actually is. So here's the truth, wrapped up like a good niche, savory, satisfying, worth the effort. Jewish investment preparation isn't about being smarter or having more money. It's about being thorough. It's about refusing to move forward until your foundation is solid, your scenarios are planned, your knowledge is deep, and your emotions are ready. It's about understanding that the preparation phase is where you actually win or lose, not in the investment itself. Most people skip preparation because it's boring, time-consuming, and delays gratification. But that's exactly why it works. Because the discipline to prepare properly is the same discipline required to invest successfully long-term. They're inseparable. And the beautiful part? This approach isn't locked to one culture or religion. Anyone can adopt it. Anyone can choose to prepare instead of gamble. Anyone can build the habits that lead to lasting wealth instead of temporary gains, followed by permanent losses. Now I need you to do something specific right here, right now. Go to the comments and type these exact words. Preparation beats luck every time. That's it. Type it out because when you write those words, you're committing to a new standard for yourself. You're saying you're done winging it, done hoping things work out, done making financial decisions without proper preparation. Type it now. Preparation beats luck every time. I read every comment and I'll see yours, and that simple act of writing it down is the first step toward actually changing your financial behavior forever. And while you're down there, subscribe to this channel immediately because what's coming next will fundamentally shift how you see money, risk, and wealth building. This isn't just content. This is a complete financial education that most people pay thousands for and still don't get this clearly. You're getting it free, but only if you subscribe and actually watch.